What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of the Dub Jellison Podcast. Today, I have former Purdue wide receiver and current Lafayette police officer, Danny Anthrop. Danny, how you doing?
Good, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yep, for sure. It's a long time coming. I'm glad we could finally do this. So, how have you been handling this whole pandemic situation?
It's been different, man. Like, in all aspects of life. Like, there's really, there's no getting out of it. Like, work, it's different. Social life, it's different. Personal life, everything, it's all different. And you have to deal with, like, the same problem in every aspect of your life. So, and it's universal. It's for every single human being. It's kind of crazy. It's a global pandemic, so everybody's feeling it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one good thing is it's kind of brought some people together and then divided others. I think for the most part, it's brought people together. So how, like I mentioned, you're a Lafayette police officer. How has that changed since all this has started? Like, how has your job changed?
It's a little bit different. We try to handle as much as we possibly can over the phone. Most calls that we go to, we have to wear a mask unless, the circumstance dictates where, time is the necessity. So, and sometimes you don't get it on, but, it's different. We have like alerts for people that have confirmed COVID cases. So we handle those a little bit differently. I'd be honest, like whenever I go to the hospital for whatever reason, I'm always like, running a little risk here. But really, it's not too different. We can't be quite as proactive as you'd like to be just because, you want to limit your interaction with human beings, which for me, I struggle with that a little bit because I'm kind of social. So, like a delivery guy will show up at my apartment and I'll talk to him for like 15 minutes because I haven't seen like human beings in a while.
Yeah. So do you guys get tested on a weekly basis? My dad's an officer for Carmel, and so he gets tested on a weekly basis. Do you guys have anything like that?
So we don't get tested on a weekly basis. We've had people that work for the city get tested, but what they do for us is, if you're feeling sick at all, you just stay home, and then every day when we come to work, they screen us. So they do it's like a temperature check. And if we have an interaction with somebody that has COVID, then they monitor us and try to isolate us. But we've been pretty lucky.
Yeah. Have any of your fellow officers gotten it yet?
I honestly don't know. I think the city of Lafayette has had people that tested positive, but it's something that I'm not really sure on just because like the OSHA stuff or HIPAA requirements. Yeah. So it's kind of tough to tell, but for the most part, we've been lucky and most people are healthy.
Yeah, that's good because I don't know if this is still the case, but Tippecanoe County was on the verge of becoming a hot spot. So I don't know if that's changed since the time I saw that. Was probably like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, have you seen any upticks in certain types of calls like domestic violence, for example? I
don't know. Really, I expected things to change. I expected, things to kind of go crazy, but I think people have responded pretty well. And it's kind of business as usual, but that could change depending on how bad things get. And I'm kind of optimistic now that they're starting to open things up, but at the same time, every day you look at the news, every day you look at the stats, and things are never like better. It's always like more cases, more deaths everywhere. So I think it just might be the new normal and what people have to deal with and kind of take it how they will. And it's nice that they've opened restaurants to like 50% capacity. So I'm excited for like the July 4th target date, but I'm not terribly confident that that's going to be a realistic goal. This might be something that we deal with for a year or more.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any, does the department tell you guys anything about if something's changing, if there's more cases near you guys, or if things are getting better?
They haven't really talked to us a whole bunch. I know our administration's really vigilant in, keeping us up to date. But really, it's the way the testing is, you kind of don't know what your situation is you kind of you know what your situation was like 5 days ago. But I guess testing's getting better, and it's being your turnaround on your results a lot quicker now. But really, I'm just ready to get it over with, man. I think everybody on earth is.
Yeah, I mean it's putting everyone in a very weird spot. No one really knows how to handle it, and I think there's like that initial surge of people getting really scared, and I think it's kind of decreased or plateaued at least, and people are starting to get more comfortable being outside, being around different people, within reason, I guess. But I wanted to get back to why you became an officer in the first place after your football career, and what have your experiences been like before all this happened? Because I'm sure before this it was pretty normal.
Yeah. So growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I guess I wanted to play football forever. I think that's how every player is. But I knew when I was at Purdue that wasn't a realistic goal. So Purdue really prepared me in terms of the classwork and the curriculum I was in. I was in Law and Society, took a lot of forensic science classes. And when I took those classes, I realized that I never wanted to be a CSI, just how tedious the work is. It's a process, and it's not fast. And my hat goes off to all of our CSIs because, the work they do, like, I don't think I have the patience for it, but it's super helpful, and it's stuff that you need for every investigation. But really, like, the bottom line, I just wanted to help people, and I really like Lafayette community. I grew up here. I love it. I feel at home here. Like when I was living in Canada, I missed home a lot, so I was glad to come back. I really like living here. I like doing the job. It's a lot more fun and a lot more exciting than I ever anticipated it being like. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and it's kind of a pleasant surprise on how much I enjoy it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the people I work with. I've become really close with a bunch of them, and I truly believe that I work for a great department, and I'm really lucky that is in my hometown where I like to live, where I want to work. So I know that's not the case for everybody. We have a lot of people that I work with from all over the state and all over the country. So it's a place that people want to go to work, and I really enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work most of the time, but I've been really lucky, and I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Yeah. What are some of the craziest things that you've had to deal with in your short? You haven't been a police officer too terribly long, like 4 years probably, right?
So I'm coming up on my third year. So by the end of the summer, I'll be on for 3 years. There's I can't talk too terribly in depth about some of the stuff, but traumatic injuries that people have, when people call the police, they're not having a great day. So, there's a lot of negative situations that you're in. But yeah, it's been crazy. I really enjoy it. I like the exciting calls. And I like the investigations that follow afterwards. Everybody likes catching the bad guy. So, there's been a lot of stuff, and you see a lot of stuff, and it's stuff that I would never thought I'd see in my entire life. But they train us well on it, and there's a lot of resources that we have, and you never feel like you're drowning or you're overwhelmed because when there's a big case, they just don't call the patrol guys, they call in detectives and all our specialty units. So it's a good team to be with, and to experience that kind of stuff is it's really rewarding, and it's work that I feel is important and essential. It's always interesting. Every day I go to work, it's all different. You never know what to expect. You go in there and you hope it's going to be like a slow day, and you can, just have a normal day where you get off on time, and then you never know what's going to happen. And that's something I really like about it. But that's something that you have to have in the back of your mind. It's like, if I order food that's going to take 20 minutes, am I going to have to go before it gets here? It's just like the little things that you have to think about. But I really enjoy it, and I'm really fortunate to have that outlook, because it's not always easy.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any, like, I don't want to say interactions like you getting in trouble, but did you come in contact with any police officers when you were a kid growing up that kind of opened your eyes to see that you might want to do this when you're older?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, when I was 17 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't know anything. All I wanted to do was play football, play sports. Play Call of Duty, which is still kind of true.
Yeah.
But this isn't something I like to talk about a whole lot. But when I was 17 years old, I broke my wrist playing football, and I couldn't play basketball. So there was a lot of things that came into play with this situation, and it was January 31st of 2011. And I had to go home. So got out of school, huge snowstorm rolling in. And I was driving a little too fast, probably for the conditions. And I went right past a state police officer out in the county, because my parents live out in this big farm in Tippecanoe County. And I was like, wow, I definitely thought I was going to get pulled over there. So no, didn't get pulled over, kept going home. And where my family lives, it's like a huge family compound. So like my mom, my dad live out there, and my aunt, my uncle live out there. So, and at that time, my grandma was living out there as well. So when I got home, I noticed that the family farm truck was in a different spot than what it usually is. So that was kind of like a red flag. And when I was parking my car to go inside, I heard someone's voice. I was like, what? So I looked over, and my uncle was underneath the truck, and I thought he was working on it or something. I didn't really know. But then it was pretty apparent quickly after that something was wrong. And I guess he was trying to move the truck before the snow rolled in, and it got stuck, and he was trying to get it unstuck. And when he was opening the door to step out and see how stuck it was in the snow. It got unstuck when he was stepping out. So then it rolled over him when he was on the ground. So I asked him, I was like, I knew he was bleeding pretty bad. And he was, he was talking a lot slower than normal. So I was like, how long you been out here? And he said, since 9 a.m. And it was 4 p.m. And it was probably 10 degrees out. So I kind of did what I could, called 911, and it took a while. It felt like forever. It felt like 2 decades went by before anybody showed up. But at that time, that was the first time in my life when I heard a police siren be a good thing. Every time you hear a siren, you're like, oh shit, I got to pull over. And it was the first time that meant help. And I didn't know it at the time, but later on, and the first person to show up was that cop that should have pulled me over earlier in the day. But they ended up saving my uncle's life, and he had a ton of surgeries and stuff. And it wasn't a good situation, but that left a lasting impression on me of what kind of police officers do and what they do every day. And I didn't know at the time, but years later, I think that left the subconscious of mine that was something that I wanted to do. So, it's kind of weird how life plays out. You go from, I think all I wanted to do that night, there was a new Call of Duty Zombies map dropping. So that's all I had on my mind. And obviously my life changed that day. So, life's crazy, and situations are tough, but I think that day set my life in motion to be where I am now.
Mm-hmm. That's a crazy story. I was not expecting that. So did your uncle, did he break bones? What specifically happened?
So he had earthquake victim injuries because the axle was laying across his legs. So they had to do some amputations, and I think it was 24 surgeries, something crazy. He was in St. Vincent's forever. He was in the hospital for almost a year. So it was a long road, but now he's pretty independent, and things are going well. But that experience definitely changed the direction of where my life headed.
Yeah, I'd say so. Do you think that there's any similarities between being an officer and playing football?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that football taught me was, not to dwell on mistakes and, how to communicate with different people, especially when I was playing at Purdue. Because when I was in high school, I didn't have a very diverse high school. I went to a private Catholic school. Everybody basically believes the same thing, looks the same, dresses the same. When I got to Purdue, you had every walk of life, every race, every religion, every political view. And I think that it's something that I wish everybody could experience because, we were all different and we had all these different views, all these different beliefs. But at the end of the day, we got along great. And we didn't always agree on things, but you always knew that your teammates had your back. And, like, we'd fight, but we'd fight because, someone hit somebody late after the play. We never fought because, someone was Islamic and you were a Christian, and it's something that it's kind of like it's like a mini version of the United States. But I thought that, being on a Big Ten football team it worked better than, our country at hand. And I wish that's something that everybody could experience. See, even though we're not the same and we don't believe the same things, we don't look the same, we don't act the same, we don't talk the same, but we all got along great and we accepted each other's differences. And I thought it was something that was cool.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, Purdue's especially good about that because, like, even in the classroom, like I was in a group project with it was different people from different places, and we had a kid from China, and he could like barely speak English, and it like you could either my mindset was you could either get really frustrated with the kid, or you can sit there and like try to help him and understand because he's not like he doesn't want to not know English, if that makes sense. So like it kind of opens your eyes to see like you're just more accepting of other people. And I think that can also be applied to, I'm in a fraternity, Pi Kappa Alpha, and we have people from all over the place. We have a kid from Malaysia, kids from all over Malaysia, all over Asia, Africa, Europe. And I mean, it's really cool to sit down and talk to them and learn things about their culture that you can apply to your own. And so you're not judging them, I guess, would be the right way to phrase it.
Absolutely. And I think it's a shame when people, see these differences and they see potential conflict and they're afraid of it. You just need to talk it out. And, at the end of the day, you can agree to disagree, but you can get along fine.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to hit on was recently there's been kind of a backlash towards law enforcement regarding like officer-involved shootings and things of that nature. How do you view the public image of police officers, and what do you think can be done to change the negative connotation towards police officers from people outside looking in?
I think one of the biggest things that we can do, and it's something that I truly believe that one of the biggest things is not judging a certain case until the investigation is complete. There's such a rush to judgment, both officer and suspect or victim in different cases. But things at face value are not always what they seem. When you have Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, you can't just lump that into every other case in the country. Like people are comparing that to Sean Reed in Indianapolis, and those two cases are nowhere near similar. And I think it's a shame sometimes when you have, obvious acts of malice towards people, and then you have, justified actions by law enforcement. But at face value, people just lump them all in the same category. And I think that discredits, the injustices. We're in situations where justice is served and people did the right thing and they acted within the law and they acted within department policy. It's a shame to put them in the same category as someone who was murdered, like in Georgia with Ahmaud Arbery. So I think it's disingenuous to lump them all into the same category. And you see political leaders do it. You see different activists do it. And, at the same time, their heart's probably in the right place. They want justice for these people. But, when you see something and at face value, you think, okay, that was wrong. You just need to take a step back and let the investigation be completed. And then you can make your judgment on, was this unjustified killing or a shooting or whatever, or was it not? And I can't really speak on it a whole lot with all the different situations because there's so much that people don't see. But it is tough sometimes because we're all human. We see that stuff. And it's a little disheartening to see, lack of trust in law enforcement. And I don't know if that's justified or warranted, but I think one of the biggest things is just community outreach, discourse, discussion, transparency as well. I think that the police department that I work with, they do a really, really good job of being transparent and releasing things to the public and getting out ahead of these things. And that's a big credit to our administration. But, you'll always have people that use certain situations for political gain. And, I could care less about politics, but it is, I guess it kind of turns me off to a person's political stance if they're attacking law enforcement, because I believe that we're, necessary for a free country and a free society and a safe society. And every day there's millions of police interactions across the country. And, you hear about the one out of all these millions that went wrong. And I don't know if you can even correct that, because if you look at it, out of millions of interactions, almost all of them go the right way. Almost all of them go, they go fine and you don't hear about them. And then the one that does, it blows up. But I think that is just human error. People are human beings. And the other thing is when something doesn't go right, justice is served and people pay the consequences of their actions. So, if there's an officer involved shooting and it's not justified, the courts deal with it. The law deals with it. And most of the time, it's the justice is served. And I don't know what more you can ask from the system. The system's not perfect, but it's the best in the world. And people are human beings. And, if you believe the United States has the best system of government, then you just have to trust it. And it's not going to be 100%, but it's the best there is.
Mm-hmm. I agree with what you said about people not basically making assumptions about either the officers or the other side, if you will, because I know I've got the chance to meet a ton of officers through my dad, and I love 99% of them. I mean, there's a few that stick out there, kind of whatever you want to call it, but like most of them are really, just about all of them are really good people. And it kind of breaks my heart to see people that really they've never had any police interactions, they've never had anything, and they hate on law enforcement. Like my dad used to do a traffic in front of in the mornings and evenings or whatever, and like kids would flip him off all the time. And they're like, they don't know who he is, and I just don't think that's fair. But yeah, I agree with what you said.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things for me when I first started the job was, people don't see me. They don't see who I am. All they do is see a uniform, and if they already have a predisposition to act negatively towards me, then they will. Like that's just what they're going to do, and that's something that I accept and I deal with. And I think that there are many different kinds of cops, and it's just by human nature that everybody's different, and it's not a good thing or a bad thing. But you're always going to have different personalities in any job. But by and large, everybody I work with, I'd go to bat for them in any situation. I'm really proud of the people I work with, and I think it's a shame to see the negativity.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's kind of shift to a more happy topic. So, I mean, the Anthrops are kind of a household name in the Lafayette community. You, Drew, and Jackson have all suited up for the Boilermakers. How does it feel to be held in such a high regard within the Purdue community?
I think we were really fortunate to get the opportunity to play at Purdue, and I think anybody that grows up a Boilermaker, that's all they want to do. When I was growing up, you would, if you told me I was going to play for Purdue, I would have said you're crazy, and not thought twice about it. But I was super fortunate. My brothers were super fortunate to be a part of the Boilermaker family, and that's something that when I got into high school and it started to become more of a realistic goal, that's all I wanted to do. And growing up, all I wanted to do was be a Boilermaker. I didn't have any aspirations to play in the NFL. I didn't think that was even a realistic goal at all. And all I ever wanted, the main goal through sports was to play for the Boilermakers. And, I'm super happy that I got to be able to live out my dream. And, I'm kind of worried about Jackson's senior year. I don't know what's going to happen with all that. But, seeing Drew suit up for the Boilers and make that decision and work hard, and his life where he is now would not be the same if he didn't play for Matt Painter and play for the Purdue basketball team. He's really enjoying working for the Lakers, and Jackson's had a good career, and he's really stepping into that leadership role for his last year, and I'm super proud of him. I know that his recruiting process was not the most fun, and he wasn't a quite highly touted guy. I don't think I was by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the last things Daryl Hazel did for my family was to offer Jackson a scholarship, and he didn't offer me. I got offered by Danny Hope, so I'm really glad that Jackson got that opportunity. I'm glad that he's kind of run with it. We love being Boilermakers. We love going to the games. The whole experience was awesome. And I'm excited to see what they have in store for this year. I think they're going to be excellent. You got Rondale and David and, all those guys on defense. It's going to be an exciting team, and I hope that stands can be in the fans for it. But I think that the NCAA, I'm confident that they're going to figure something out. I know, like with spring sports, people that weren't able to play their spring sport got another year or season of eligibility. And I think with that precedent being set, even if they don't have college football this year, which would make 2020 the worst year in human history, if they do that, then it'd be cool if they just restarted another year. Jackson will be like 34 years old because he's like the oldest fifth-year senior ever. That's not true. There's been some guys pushing 30.
Ran weed.
Oh yeah, man. And like everyone from BYU ever, they go on their mission trips for 2 years. Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I love going to the games. I love Ross-Ade. I usually like to make it to 1 or 2 away games. I think every day of my vacation this year has been taken on Purdue football games, so I'm excited for it, and I really hope it can happen this year.
Yeah, I think it will happen. I just don't know if there'll be a lot of fans in the stands, like you said. But I wanted to get back to your brother. I didn't really follow after he left Purdue, because I think I was a little too young to really like follow him. I just kind of like just looked at the team. I didn't look at any outside. So how did he get from walk on at Purdue for basketball all the way to the Lakers, working for the Lakers?
So he was a walk-on for his first 2 years, and then he earned a scholarship his last 2, and then his senior season. So he was a Craner grad. And I don't think he's used his Craner education at all yet. He has, but just not in the way he planned. So when he was about to graduate, Frank Vogel got in contact with Matt Painter and, inquired about someone that could serve as an intern role for his team. And Painter was like, Drew might. So he's like, he's got a good mind for the game, works hard, knows the game, and he might be interested in doing that. So Drew took that opportunity, did that for a few years, pretty much the whole time I was at Purdue until my senior year. He was with the Lakers. And then when the Lakers made a major mistake and let go of Frank Vogel, then he went out to St. John's in New York City. And he coached there for 1 season. And that was with Chris Mullen. And then Drew hooked back up with Vogel when he was in Orlando. So when he coached for the Magic for a few seasons, he was down there. And then the Magic didn't have some great seasons, so they were let go there. And that really wasn't any fault to the coaching staff there. I mean, I'm sure there was, but they did. In order to turn a professional sports team around, you have to have draft classes. You have to have major moves being made, and they really didn't have the opportunity for that. So then Vogel took 1 year off, I believe. Drew worked with the Grizzlies in Memphis for 1 season, took a job with Vanderbilt after that season, really didn't do anything at Vanderbilt, and then Vogel got hired out with the Lakers. But at the time of them taking that job, it was kind of a risk because they had such a good team, and the Lakers didn't have the season that they desired. So the LA market and the Lakers fan base and the Lakers organization, they expect a ton. So it's a huge risk to come in with some of the best players in the world, and you got to produce. So they weren't sure if it was going to be like a 1 season or 2 season. So they took that job. And obviously this season they're having a fantastic one. And I'm really excited to see if they have a final. I don't know what they're going to do. But the Lakers have been killing it. LeBron's the best in the world right now and has been for a long time and will continue to be for a while. And it's not just LeBron. Like, they got AD, they got Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's balling again. They have such a deep team. And, LeBron is in his later stages of his career. He wants to win. He cares about winning. It's something that he really enjoys because he hasn't been on a team that's dominant with the superstar in the world, and he enjoys it, and he loves working for Frank.
Mm-hmm. So have you been able to go out there and catch any games?
I was supposed to, and then the coronavirus hit. So I spent like a week here, like doing nothing. I was like, I should be in LA right now. I was supposed to go out there in May, earlier in May. And I was excited. I was like, well, this is going to be like around playoff time. So I have not gone out there yet. I will when all this is done and over with, because he lives in a pretty cool spot, and it's the Lakers. We weren't Lakers fans; we were Pacers fans growing up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had any like NBA. Whoever Drew put coaches for, I'm a fan. And the gear comes in the mail, so I can't hate that.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about your time with Purdue. Your freshman year was the last year of Danny Hope. You guys went to a bowl game, lost to Oklahoma State, and then after that, it was your next 3 seasons were kind of rough. What do you think the transition's been like from Hope to Hazel to now Jeff Brom?
So I love Danny Hope, And I still talk to him a couple times a year. And I know that's the case with a lot of people that played for him. He's a player's coach. He went to bat for you all the time. And I really did enjoy playing with him. And I think that my time at Purdue would have been different. And I think the teams would have been different had he remained there. But, that didn't happen. So we had a new regime. The new regime, whenever a new coaching staff comes in, you have to basically prove yourself to be one of their guys. And it just kind of falls in your lap. You're just like, okay, well, we have a coach here that doesn't know me, might not like me or even want to like me. So you have to prove yourself, because when a new staff comes in, they're trying to get their guys in. Fans want them to get their guys in. So you have to, be head and shoulders of whoever they bring in. And you better believe that everybody they're bringing in, they're going to give them every chance to take your spot. So that was a challenge. And I had to explain that to Jackson when Brom came in, and I think he's adjusted really well. And I think that he has a great relationship with his coaches. And I think that, he appreciates what is in place there now, and rightfully so. But so the years were not as kind to me. The change wasn't as kind to me as it was to Jackson. But we had incredibly talented teams. There are some things that were done that I don't necessarily agree with. You look at, Raheem Mostert as an example. Incredible talent. Tried to play him at receiver for probably two seasons. And then he was used kind of as like an auxiliary back. And now he has an NFL record. And he balled out in the playoffs and played in the Super Bowl. And it was a guy that, we didn't really use a whole lot. Like his last season in the NFL was better than every season he had at Purdue. And did Raheem get that much better in the NFL? No, he's been that good. And we had other guys like that too. And the team that went 1-11 was the most talented team I ever played with during my college career. And I don't know the reason for it. I think obviously it was unacceptable, but we had Ricardo Allen in the secondary, just tons of talent all over the field. And there was really no reason for us to, have the record we did. But I'm glad that we've righted the ship and we brought Jeff Brom in. And I think that one thing that I place a high value on in football is if you're a head coach, I want you to be a coordinator of something, whether O or D, or have a major hand in it. And I think that Jeff Brom is not only a great recruiter, not only a great head coach, but he's a heck of an offensive mind. And you can't find that all the time in a head coach. And that's why I think he's going to be successful. He's going to continue to be successful. He's brought in a lot of good stuff. And I'm just excited to see it culminate. In his first season at Purdue, he was super creative with the offense, kind of the guys and pieces that fell in his lap, he used them to the best of his ability, and they went to a bowl game. So, I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of your biggest takeaways from your entire playing career? Because after you graduated, you spent some time with the Colts, and then I believe you went to the CFL.
Mm-hmm. I got to live my dream. I didn't want to go to Purdue and kind of fizzle out and ride the bench. I was glad that I got to contribute and play with some great teammates. People ask me hey, what's your favorite memory of Purdue? And I was like, I don't know, but I know that I had a lot of fun with a lot of great people. And it's the people that I met and the experiences I had that I really, really enjoy. And, every time I get to see my old teammates, it is a blast, whether it's high school or college or beyond. I think the biggest takeaway is, hard work pays off. And, if you believe in something, you can do it. All the cheesy, one-liners he got, it was kind of all true for me. but I'm just super thankful to be able to be a part of all that. I'm glad that I get to see my little brother do that. It's really rewarding for me to be able to see his hard work pay off and kind of be rewarded with his experiences there. I love football, and I'm glad that my body could handle it all, and I was super fortunate to be able to compete at that level. It's not an easy thing, and I wake up in the morning sometimes, and I think I might feel those years, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. It taught me how to deal with adversity. Tore my ACL and a bunch of other stuff in my knee, and had to get over that. And I feel fine now, which is crazy, but that's like every football player's worst nightmare. I got to live that nightmare and get over it. So you can get it. It makes you stronger in a lot of different ways. So I'm fortunate for all the good, the bad, the ugly, the hurt, the joy, all of it.
Yeah. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about was your torn ACL. How did you overcome that adversity?
So the training staff at Purdue was awesome. Purdue let me pick whatever surgeon I really wanted, and they stuck by me, and it was a long process, and it's something that teaches you patience. I had none of it. I don't have a whole lot of it. But it humbles you too, man. Because I was having the best season I had, and then, I made a cut that I've made a million times in my life, and then, it's all kind of going up in flames. But it's just something that taught me that at any given moment your life can change. I probably should have learned that before then, but you kind of feel invincible when you go for quite a while without like a major injury, and then something happens. But yeah, just one day at a time, because you can only do so much rehab before you're swelling. So you have to know your limits. I think it may be tougher for sure. If you can get through a potentially career-ending injury and something that you love and have that lay in the balance, it was like, oh, is my career over? Will I ever, be able to run again, be able to cut again, jump? To have that fear and then just work through it, that really helped.
And I remember back in the day, there's an article that said that you got close with Robbie Hummel after his 2 knee injuries. What was that kind of relationship like?
So him and my older brother Drew, they're really close. They've been close ever since Drew got to Purdue. And when that happened to me, he was reaching out every day trying to help me out. And I probably wouldn't have got the surgeon I did without him. I went to New York City, and Dr. David Alchek did my surgery in Manhattan. And I had a lot of stuff that needed to be done down there. I really appreciate him looking out for me, because he didn't have to do that. But we call it the ACL club. So like, you're not a true Purdue athlete unless you tear your ACL. You kind of get that like extra letter on your jacket if you do it. But yeah, it's crazy how many ACLs Purdue's had. But yeah, it was just, I guess now I just chalk it up as another experience. But yeah, Rob was the man, and we still talk about the knees every once in a while, and he's healthy and feels pretty good nowadays, doing his thing. And I'm happy to see him playing his 3-on-3 nowadays.
Yeah. Hopefully he'll play in the TBT tournament if they still have it.
That's what I want. Yeah, that's such a cool concept.
Mm-hmm. I was super pumped when they announced it. I talked to Vincent Edwards last week, and he said he's unsure if he really want him to play too. Him and Robbie would dominate, I think. But
it'd be awesome. Yeah, anybody that's like fresh out of the league or still playing quite a bit, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit that inhibits that tournament is just like, people that are still in the league or still trying to get that, just like their contract mitigations. But yeah, it's awesome. The TBT tournament is like the coolest thing that is going right now in the life after sports, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk about when you were in the CFL, when you decided to be done with football. When did you know when that moment was, and did you know right away that you wanted to go into being a police officer?
So after I got released from Montreal, I had another workout in Toronto, and it was me and another guy there. Can't remember his name, but we were working. It was me and one other guy, and they worked us out. And in my humble opinion, I outperformed him. Whatever. Long story short, they say that they're looking for a taller guy on the outside that can play the outside. And they said that that's what they wanted to go with, and that they were going to sign the other guy. But me and the other guy were the same height. And I was faster than this guy. I was like, and I had more touchdowns at Purdue when I was on the playing on the outside than in the slot. I played the slot more, but they moved me around a little bit. And I told them that, and then they're like, okay. But I was just like, they just told me they're taking a taller outside wide receiver, and we're both 6 foot. So I was like, I'm done. I was like, I hate football. So I went back, and I literally the night before, I filled out different police department applications, because I was just like, if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna do this. And I could feel my heart being pulled in another direction, especially when I was up in Canada, because I was so far away from home, playing in front of people I didn't know, with people I didn't know. Where I was at, they didn't even speak English most of the time. And it wasn't the same, because when I was at Purdue, I was playing in front of, my hometown and the team I loved growing up. Like, I haven't watched a single Montreal Alouettes game since I was there, so it didn't mean as much to me. And I could feel that I wanted to do something else. I felt that, my life was being called in another direction, and I didn't know why at the time, but I do know now, and I'm glad I made that decision. Montreal actually offered me a second contract while I was in the academy, and I was like, no. I was like, you guys fired me once before. I don't think I'm gonna go a second time. Yeah, I was done with it after that day, and it really wasn't a hard decision for me. I was just like, you know what, I'm ready to move my life in a different direction. And my body had been torn up for quite a bit too, so I wanted to be able to, be a young police officer that can still move and still be, athletic and do what I needed to do, and not do it when I was 30 and had double knee replacements and a zillion concussions. So, yeah, I'm glad I made that decision.
Mm-hmm. Just before I let you go, how do you think that going to Central Catholic and Purdue has benefited you and your brothers?
I think the Central Catholic aspect was the way that the youth athletics there worked. It was, they taught you discipline, they taught you fundamentals, they taught you hard work from like the day you started there. So my dad had actually a huge impact on my life growing up. He was my coach and everything. But he didn't really play football. So like when me and Jackson played football, we always kind of laughed, because in basketball he could, coach us up and roast us after games, and you're just like, okay, like you're right, but this is horrible. But in football, he'd be like, don't fumble and catch your passes. And we're like, okay, this is nice. Like he didn't see me miss that block, because he didn't really know exactly what he was looking for. So that was kind of nice, kind of being out of the expertise of our lifelong coach is a little different, but, he taught me how to do everything growing up. And, the other thing is like the faith aspect of Central Catholic. I would have a very hard time doing my job today if I didn't have, a pretty serious faith to fall back on. And I'm not perfect. I don't always don't always. I'm not always strong in my faith. I might miss mass every once in a while, but that might be because I work every other weekend and I work nights. For my mom that might watch this later, but then going to Purdue and getting a world-class education, graduating debt-free, which is unbelievable. That kind of stuff will benefit me forever. And, I'm just super thankful for every experience I had and, kind of how it put me in the position to be semi-successful in my life. And, I'm just still kind of figuring things out right now. And, I'm excited to see, what's next for Purdue sports and what's next for my little brother. And I can't wait for all this coronavirus to get done and get life back to normal so we can enjoy Purdue sports and raise hell in Mackey and in Ross-Ade. So, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I remember this is kind of off topic, but my cousin, he played for Guerin Catholic. His name was Hudson Plummer. When he was a freshman, you were a senior, I believe, at Central Catholic, and they played you guys. And he said that you whacked him for like 6 touchdowns or something nuts like that in high school.
It was only 5. It was only 5.
It was only 5. You still remember though?
Oh yeah. So we had some people suspended. And Guerin was really good that year. They had IU's leading receiver while I was at Purdue there, Mitchell Page, one of their top guys. They had a bunch. But they were pretty stacked when we were playing in Lucas Oil, and we had like a winning streak on the line. And it was hotter than hell on the turf. They had the roof open. Like people were like throwing up from being so dehydrated and stuff. But yeah, that was an awesome game. It was a good one, especially because like we had people playing so out of position because some of our linemen were suspended for that game. So it was a good time. And in high school, you go both ways, especially at a small school. So it's brutal going both ways. Yeah, Garrett, dude. So Guerin like blew up that year on. They've been pretty successful from there on out. You got the Thieneman brothers coming out of there. I think Jake Thieneman was a sophomore then. I don't know if he played or not that game, but Guerin Catholic, man. That was they used to be like the joke team on the schedule when I was a freshman, and then by the time we were a senior, we're like, we might get waxed by them. So. They're a team to be reckoned with, and they always are.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna let you go. We've been on for an hour. Thank you so much for doing this. It
has been.
Yeah, 55 minutes. Thank you for doing this.
No problem, man. When you come up to the next Purdue game, hit me up and we'll link up.
Oh, for sure. Or when I'm back at school in August. Hopefully we get back in August. I'm not sure if that's 100% going to happen yet, but.
Well, if you guys don't go back to school in August, there will be no football games in August. So we must pray.
Yeah. Let's hope there's some football games.
Coronavirus can take everything, but not football season. Can't let that happen.
Yeah. That's the last straw. I think we need to get past it. We'll be all right.
I agree.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
See you, boss.
Peace out, everybody.